Thank you, everybody, for joining us back here at Cytta Corporation's channel. We're sitting here once again with Chief Executive Officer of Cytta Corporation, Gary Campbell. And Gary, on the previous video, we got somewhat of an origin story for you, so to speak. But today we want to go deeper into Cytta itself. How are you, and are you ready to get into it?
Well, I'm doing really well. It's the end of a long week, a lot of meetings, a lot of presentations, and we're really busy and doing well. So it'd be nice to have a nice wrap up and little summary of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Perfect. Yeah. So for those not yet aware of what Cytta Corp really dives into, can you give us the general business model of the company, the elevator pitch, so to speak?
Sure. The elevator pitch for Cytta is really, we like paradigm shifting technologies, and then we take those technologies and we develop markets for them. And that sounds very simple and very easy, but for us, it's always hard to find a foundational technology. And for Cytta, our super compression technology is that. It's foundational. It's patented. It's a new way of compressing videos and imagery that operates completely differently than any other technology. So when we were introduced to it in 2012, we were made aware of it through some very heavy Department of Defense, Washington, D.C. folks. And there were certain reasons why they wanted Cytta to deal with the people who developed the technology, mostly because, we're pretty good at dealing with, call them, unusual, genius, visionary types, and the U.S. military industrial complex not so good at that. So because of that reason, we ended up with technology that really changes everything when it comes to compression. But the important part about it is it works really well when you get up to higher resolution. So back in 12, 13, 4K was not common at that point, barely existed. So we really had to wait for the resolutions being used in the world to get up to 4K and higher. And once we got up to that level, the capabilities of our compression algorithm were able to be shown. And we've been working with that ever since. And then variations on that theme when it comes to revolutionary ways of moving video around and audio. Again, the whole gamut of technologies in the video and audio compression and transportation and storage is really where we are.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I feel like a lot of people don't quite understand that as we get to 4K and 8K and potentially way above that, I don't know where we'll wind up. We're talking about moving a lot of data. We're talking about moving a lot, and there's definite restrictions in how fast you can move data. So how is it that you worked around these bandwidth constrained environments to be able to move so much? You don't have to go too into the weeds, just the layman's example.
Well, I can't. I can give kind of the easy answer to that, which is everybody that compresses started with the original MPEG compression algorithm, which uses blocks of pixels basically, and it grabs them, and then it uses massive amounts of computational power to calculate where each and every one of those little pixels or images in a picture or a video moves. So all of that computational power, when you're at low resolution, there aren't that many pixels. So when you're at 1,000 pixels, it's very easy to do it. The computational power is possible, but as you get up to more and more higher resolution, so 4K is 4,000 by 4,000 pixel resolution, and that's 4,000 times 4,000, so that's 16 million pixels.
Wow.
To move in one image, and 30 images per video.
Yeah.
So calculating those numbers as opposed to 1 million or 4 million, it becomes harder and harder, becomes exponentially harder. So what our algorithm did, it was designed for when those resolutions started becoming common, and it created a new way of figuring out where the pixels should be without doing anywhere near as many calculations. And basically we use 1/100th of the computing power to do the reproduction, and we do it obviously 100 times faster. So again, the imagery gets passed along, and it's just really the genius of the algorithm. But again, a completely different approach, and designed not to try to calculate every single pixel, but a way using mathematics and physics to do it differently. That's probably the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, fair enough. And before we move on to your guys' other product, walk me through the markets you guys are currently working this into and where you plan on having this one in the future.
Well, the pure super compression algorithm has been utilized in the military markets. Now, our first sales were of this algorithm, this software algorithm. We put the algorithm onto mil-spec computers. There's a small, it's called an ADDC military computer. It's the size of 3 credit cards. It's got an i7 processor, tremendous storage. And basically putting our software onto that allowed that very, very tiny computer to go into very small drones. And suddenly a very small drone with a 4K camera that 4K imagery could be compressed by that computer and then wirelessly transmitted to the ground. So those were our initial demonstrations we were doing. And basically there is not, no computer that small could compress 4K or move it wirelessly. But then the other aspect to that from our point of view is once we're compressing it to those very small levels on the drone, suddenly you're able to move that much smaller bandwidth through smaller satellites. So big satellites are required for Predators and Raptors, where they're sending it up to the high Earth orbit satellites. So you have big dishes to do that, big bandwidth. Suddenly they found that with very small dishes, the size of, let's say, a hockey puck, and you could move 22 kilobits up to low Earth orbit satellites with a 2-foot by 2-foot drone. Suddenly you could remotely watch everything that's happening on that 2-foot by 2-foot drone from a remote location, the same way you can with a Predator and a Raptor. And, we've all seen the movies of remote operators, and that really was our world at that end of the business.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. It really, what's interesting is while that seems like a very strong first use case, I could see this becoming commonplace across so many different, and like everywhere needs something like this. It would just improve media in such a direct way.
It's a fantastic direction, and basically the next piece, which is what we've been building now, or what are called FPGAs, which are a board where we flash our software onto it. And the nice thing about doing it that way, the software is not vulnerable to being pulled out of the computer or being hacked or being taken or stolen. And of course, on the military side, everybody's very concerned about that. So with the FPGAs, we can put it into a smaller environment and many more use cases. So that's part of what we're doing on that end. And then ultimately that software becomes an ASIC chip. And the ASIC chip is the size of the head of a pin, and then that goes in everywhere. So there's an interim step, and then that one, and we're working on that right now with our partner, Reticulate Micro, who is designed basically to build those little tiny ASIC chips for us from our software.
Interesting. So I'd love to do a deeper dive into the super technology here, but let's turn a little bit again, just an overview. Give me now IGAN. Talk to me about
IGAN. Yes, IGAN is it's really an interesting offshoot of the super compression algorithm because it's a proprietary compression algorithm. When we compress it at source, to decompress it once it reaches somewhere, you need our player. It's proprietary. You can't unscramble it effectively without our magic player. So that's an issue with super. So what we did was we created a transcoding mechanism called IGAN that basically we would stream our super compressed high resolution video to. It would be transcoded from our compression algorithm into a standard and uniform compression algorithm that, everybody has players on every device they have. So basically, suddenly our super compressed videos were capable of being distributed to anybody they wanted once we did the transcoding. And then the beauty of IGAN, because we added, a lot of our skill set with videos and bells and whistles to it to do things, everybody realized that suddenly every video stream from anywhere could now be collected by the IGAN and moved to anywhere in real time. And again, with relatively high resolution, again, because there's some compression tricks we have in it. So suddenly everybody wanted to use IGAN to move their video, and audio is just, literally another data stream from our point of view. So suddenly the IGAN became useful for moving videos from things that you couldn't see those videos. So the first use they found was when you're flying a drone, the drone operator can see what the drone can see on his controller, but nobody else can. And suddenly all of those drones, every drone in the world, if you had an IGAN connected, you can move that video and the people anywhere could watch exactly what that drone is seeing in real time. So that really changed the use case for drones. And the first and major implementation of that is with the first responders, of course, because they're flying their drones in such a way that a lot of the other officers need to see what that drone sees. And literally before us, the drone operator, if he saw a guy with a gun around a corner and there was a SWAT team moving around that corner, he would get on his radio and say, "Hey, don't go around that corner." Which
that's a pretty good use case. Yeah, that's something you would definitely want in real time for sure.
So now what happens is the SWAT team is able to watch exactly what that drone sees in real time on a chest plate that they look at, or a wrist plate, or whatever they're looking. And of course, we've expanded the system so you can have multiple drones, multiple cameras, and see them all in real time. So usually right now when they're using it for things like drone clear, before the SWAT team goes in a building, there's 4 small drones broadcasting everything they see there. They don't enter until it's clear, but the whole time they're entering, they're watching the real-time videos from those drones going into that building. So we're really kind of excited about that particular use case. And then for the first responders, then it expands from drones to their body cams. We can stream body cams too, even when some body cam operators can't stream body cams, we grab their feed and we do that for them, which is kind of an interesting piece. Pole cameras, bomb robots, all of those pieces. But some of the other interesting things are suddenly every officer's smartphone, we're streaming the video from their smartphone. So, we've had lots of use cases where we have an undercover operator in a crowd. And these were kind of events occurring in real time during these protests / riots, which, depended on your side, which way you characterized it. But, and they're finding uses. So what they would have is somebody with a phone to their ear, their camera turned on, and the person at headquarters is saying, "Okay, turn your head towards that guy in the blue shirt," and they would have his image being streamed from that phone while they were talking on it like this. And then, given if they had the right kind of facial recognition technology, and this particular group did, everything pops up on the IGAN screen. Who he is, what he is, and they go, "Okay, he's a known commodity. Okay, now go look at this guy, go look at that guy." So suddenly every officer has, streaming capability of whatever they're doing. And a lot of them are using their cameras now as well. They sit them in their pocket because body cams can be complicated, and they're $4,000 or $5,000 item, and they're problematic. So in the short instance, we connected all of their connected mechanisms back to headquarters, and are providing, whatever kind of connectivity they never had before.
Well, Gary, with these secrets you're telling me, no one's going to come knock on my door, I hope, after we have this conversation.
No, we're pretty well connected on that end, and they always ask the questions before.
Fair enough. Well, it looks like you got a really strong market there for sure. And it sounds like it could evolve significantly past that too. So let's talk about that now. What are the future markets you guys are aiming for now, aside from this one?
Well, let's, so as we say, military and first responders were the initial markets we wanted to develop and expand. And, that's from the IGAN 2.0 product that we've introduced now. We're really, starting to take orders, starting to install that. Another market that's connected to that is safety and security generally. So what we're supplying for first responders, we can supply at a lot of different levels. And given what's happening with the schools in the US and, the tragedies that we've seen, we were specifically asked to develop IGAN elements that could be used by schools to protect children. And so we just introduced in New Jersey our immediate SOS program for schools, where if there's some type of an emergency, they simply scan a QR code. And if their local law enforcement has our IGAN technology in place, all of the immediate capabilities go. So those phones suddenly can become two-way.
Wow.
They can connect in and do it. We're doing 6 schools initially with this, but this is really just an interim step for us. So what this does is provide an alerting mechanism when the school doesn't have IGAN technology in it. But what they're asking us to do now is install a school-based IGAN in every school, and their server-side stuff that's connected into their school resource officers, their protection. But also, once that IGAN is in a school setting, it would give the first responders the ability to see what every camera there sees, hear what every microphone does. You're able to turn on administrators, teachers, smartphones, as long as they have the app in it. You create a whole protected network there, and that could do that. So we have a school model that we're implementing now. And then along with that, there's kind of a communities at risk model where we're being asked in certain instances for various communities. One of them is the Jewish Orthodox community, who have a lot of problems with anti-Semitism, to develop that model, for all of their private schools, but for all of the synagogues that are involved, and also for all the members of their community. So the same protective features start expanding out to the community. So our markets for the IGAN product start expanding dramatically in the safety and security area. In addition to that area, what we did as another big market for us with the World Wildlife Society, we demonstrated that the IGAN is a media and broadcasting tool. And as a media and broadcasting tool, it allows us to do things safely and securely that you can't do on Zoom, with everything that Zoom has, but all kinds of other features. So the media and broadcasting model will allow people to use it for interacting with one person, interacting with literally 100 people. Mm-hmm. In our case, of course, given the nature of it, if the people that are watching you are up on their laptops or they're on a camera, you would actually be able to have them participating like a real live audience. If we're speaking now, we would actually have the real live audience at the top of the screen and be able to add them in if somebody wanted to speak, and you could literally click on their video. Wow. And they would pop up on the screen with us to be able to ask the questions in real time.
Well, it really sounds like you guys are talking about essentially a revolution of media coming up here potentially. Not to be too bombastic with it, but it sounds like the amount of
Michael Collins's vision has always been, real life delivered for him is the passion. What he wanted to do was be able to show people things happening in real time, whether that be pollution events on reefs underwater. he's a passionate, he was an oceanographer. He grew up on a research vessel. So that's been his passion, to bring reality or real time delivered to the world. And what all these things are offshoots of that. So, again, this media broadcast product is really just the product we used for World Conservation Society to be able to show the turtles in real time from the Amazon, have people come to their site and watch that and literally interact with their researchers there. At the same time, the system is amenable to do live cutting. So when you have multiple cameras, you can, if you know what you're doing and you have the right kind of operator, you're literally creating a show in real time. Wow. So there's some really nice elements we have there. So yeah, we're really excited about the introduction of that as one of our products here to that media and broadcasting market. And there are just a lot of areas for us to go, and that's, as you say, the vision here is to just keep changing the way things are done, and see how far we can take it.
Awesome, Gary. Well, listen, I think you did a great job walking us through the different products, different aspects of the business, and where you could go. Everybody watching, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to send them over. We'll go deeper into all sorts of sides here. So keep following us along for this journey. Gary, any last words before we go?
Yes, I think one of the things to keep in mind, and from my point of view, where I'm dealing with a lot of really creative people, and I'm dealing with a lot of people that see things, is you have to kind of keep the wonder in what you're doing and keep allowing that to happen. And yes, concerted sales efforts of products once they're developed, etc. But some of the amazing people that are out there, like Elon Musk and some of the things he's done, if you weren't doing things just because you want to, and they're going to create a different vision for the world, that's what keeps us going, and that's what we hope to keep accomplishing.
Very well said, Gary. Well, thank you so much again for your time today, and please have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.